Hey, what's up everybody? BDO 44 coming at you with another video. Alright, so I'm in a nice little zone, totally different frequency than what the NBA would bring to me at this moment. But when you represent like I do with the Lakers, you gotta stop what you're doing and talk about what they're doing. And I'm happy about what they're doing. They just signed two players, not one but two. Shaq Harrison and Tristan Thompson. Double T is now gonna be a part of this team now. I never did co-sign Double T from the beginning, but under these circumstances, I absolutely agree with what they're doing. I didn't care who they signed. Just make sure that that person was tall, could play a little defense, rebound the ball, and of course could come into this situation having some understanding of what it is that we're doing, and in terms of what it is we're trying to do, which is win a championship. So when you bring in a guy like Double T, you know for a fact that at his best, he's going to be able to defend. He's going to be able to bring IQ and toughness and a certain intensity, a certain energy that's going to be about this team that was not here prior to him coming in. Trust you me, he's going to be screaming. He's going to be looking at people. He's going to be holding people accountable. He's going to be grabbing the rebounds if he gets on the floor. And that's a big if, because he has some limitations offensively that make me question whether or not coach is going to put him on the floor or whether or not he's going to be able to give us all that he otherwise would if he were in his prime. But that's not the point. The point is some of what left our team with Patrick Beverley and Russell Westbrook leaving is going to be returning. And what I like about Double T coming into the situation is what that means for the guys who should be called upon to do the duties that Double T otherwise would be asked to do later on. Wenyen Gabriel, guys like Mo Bamba, of course, Vanderbilt. These are the guys I'm going to be looking at him to kind of help navigate what they do and navigate them through the playoffs and through this process of what it is that I hope will be a nice playoff run. So this is what I like about bringing in Double T, especially right now, because it's playoff time. This is his time to shine. This is when he's been able to make his money in the past and be able to show what it is that it takes to win against some of the greatest in the most pressured moments. So we know bringing in Double T is going to do exactly that. Even if he doesn't get on the floor, he's going to bring something to the court that should help, something like a coach on the sidelines for those defensive players. That's what I have envisioned in my mind for what he could bring to the table. And with that being said, he probably should have been there the whole time in some type of role that didn't require a roster spot so they could still fill that position. And that's what I want to share. Is like, we were talking about that a little earlier. It's like, sometimes guys, you just kind of want them around the team. It's the same thing I said about bringing in Rasheed Wallace as an assistant coach. He didn't have to have a ridiculous amount of duties. You just want him down there lighting a fire under AD. And so that's the type of things like, those pieces matter. Putting those guys on the coaching staff matters. You definitely want those type of people just kind of in the vicinity. It's sort of like I said about having Boogie Cousins on the team in 2020. He didn't play, but he brought something to the table that overall brought to the fullness of the camaraderie and the overall fullness of the chemistry on the team. So I'm hopeful that Double T can come in and kind of bring some of that energy too, especially given the fact that he's Bronze Boy. That should not be a difficult situation to bring him in and have him vibe with the team. So that's what I'm hopeful will happen. And of course, you bring in Double T, that brings a whole new energy. That brings a whole new energy. It's going to be some more celebrities on the sidelines because he's on the team. Know that for a fact. And so that's going to be a situation that just overall brings to the fullness of what it is our team's about. And hopefully we can go out there and get another ring, man. I don't know how long Double T wants to play, but this is definitely yet another opportunity to play some meaningful basketball. This is a really good team. And what that means is I do not expect for our coach to call on him to come in and be a liability just because he's LeBron's friend. We want to help him win. We don't want to ask him to do things that he can't do and then lead us to losing and blame him for that. But knowing our coach, he probably won't get on the floor at all because he doesn't like size. Now, if Double T was 6 feet, we'd be talking about something. But the fact of the matter is, Double T's almost 7 feet, so I don't know if he's ever going to play. But nevertheless, he's going to be there available to help guys who will be on the floor. In the event if we need him, he'll be yet another body we can throw down there so that we don't have any excuses. That's been sitting there the whole time. Yeah, it sure has. Anyway, so that we don't have any excuses for why we don't match up properly. That's really what it comes down to. We want to be able to match up if for some reason guys get injured. We got guys that may go down. It just is what it is. Every team has that as a possibility, no matter what the status of the passing of these players. So it doesn't matter. We just want to make sure we have enough. Because if you're going for it, you want to really actually go for it. You know what I mean? So that's what I think the Lakers are doing. They've done a lot of things, made a lot of sacrifices, had to come to a lot of agreements that overall brought this team together to be as good as they are. So the last thing I want to be is a team that just doesn't simply have enough on the roster to meet the different challenges that may come about. So this is what that signing means to me. And also, don't sleep on Shaq Harrison. I have seen Shaq Harrison play well in a plethora of situations. Not one, two, or three. Every time I see this dude play, he's doing one or two things: stealing the ball, or get in a bucket some kind of way. Hit a shot here, lay the ball up there, some kind of way. He's not overly offensive, but he is definitely somebody that has defensive skills. And at this point, he should be well developed in what he's going to become, because he's been hanging around this league probably for at least about 6 years, 5 or 6 years. Hasn't really had a chance to really get on a team and show that he can play some meaningful basketball. Now, again, we have so many guards and various different things that it ultimately is going to come down to what coach wants to do. But I am telling you, the back of our bench, the very back of our bench, has players that can lock you up. That's what the Lakers are not using, is defensive players that teams in the playoffs may not know we have. And that's a situation, if Darvin Ham just wants to just venture into his creativity about defensive lineups, there are dudes like Shaq Harrison and Max Christie, obviously Wenyen Gabriel, Vanderbilt, AD obviously thrown in that. But we have ridiculously good defensive players. Devon Reed, understand what I'm saying? Mo Bamba. There's no reason with the roster moves that we just made, including bringing in Double T, who's a defensive player, that we should have issues getting stops. Now, if we choose to go offensive and play offensive style ball like we have chosen to do, then it will result in us not being able to defend. But by way of what it is that our GM has done, we should in fact be the most capable defensive team we can be. I'm not going to compare us to nobody else. I'm not ready to do that. I'm just going to say that we got defensive pieces that should be able to defend you. Bottom line, on paper. Shaq Harrison is a defensive player that can speed around and create problems for people trying to dribble in front of him and all that type of stuff. He's going to get some steals. He's going to help us, and I know this. I've seen him play well in a Laker uniform too. This isn't the first time he's put on purple and gold. So, yeah, going into the playoffs, I think these are good moves, man. If these players are used correctly. Because if Darvin Ham puts them on the floor and says, okay, you guys are the focal point, and puts Double T in the corner to shoot threes, and then asks, Shaq Harrison to dribble the ball and do all kinds of other stuff that's not supposed to be done, then of course it's not going to work out. You know what I mean? But bottom line is, this is a team that a good coach can work with. You can win with this team. This roster has everything it needs so long as it stays healthy. Lane for days, shooters if necessary, ball handlers everywhere, guys that can give guys rest, stuff like that, all up and down the roster. If you want to run the score up to 150, we can do that. We have the roster pieces that can absolutely do that. Even if Anthony Davis is not scoring like that, we should still be able to run up 120, 130 points. So, and the fact that we play defense should keep these teams under 130 points at least. So that's where I think we can hang our hat, is the ability to both defend and score so long as we just do everything we're supposed to do with the roster. So, exciting times, LA. Obviously, our game starts in about, that's not school. Yeah, a couple of hours. And at that point, there will be 1 million games being played in the Western Conference at the exact same time. So, a new dynamic in the NBA. Curious to see how it fares, how these games go, with so many different teams not certain what they're going to be doing in regards to the play-in tournament playoffs. So, us, the Pelicans. I hear the Pelicans could actually jump to 5 because they have the tiebreaker over the Clippers, unlike us. It's kind of strange, but I think that's kind of how that goes. So even though we had no possibility of jumping to 5, they can. So there's a lot of very interesting stuff that are possible in the Western Conference, including a Clipper-Laker play-in tournament matchup that we talked a lot about last night. That, if we have to fall into the play-in tournament strategically, we probably should not want to go up against a team that's beat us 11 times in a row. But I almost want to see that. I don't know if anybody else feels that way, but I almost want to see that. I almost think if there's a game the Lakers can break this streak, it should be with those stakes in mind. And if the Clippers are able to beat us in that game, then we can just continue to see the more of the same, which is domination over the Los Angeles Lakers. You know, it wouldn't be nothing different. So I kind of want to see that matchup for just pride and, you know, I mean, I kind of want to see the Denver Nuggets. We can't fall to 8 if we win that game, but I don't know. I don't know. My thinking is, if anything, we just want to put ourselves in a position to have the most possible home court advantage series, whatever the case may be. Whoever we see, if they happen to, the 8 seed happens to beat the 7 seed, luckily us, we have the 7 seed, so we should have home court advantage, that kind of thing. So, yeah, I'm thinking that is going to be a possibility based on the upset probability of some of these series. I don't even expect Denver to get out of the first round, to be honest with you, depending on who they run into. And so it's one of those things where it's like you're gonna want that home court advantage over all these little teams down here that are in our range. And so that's what I'm thinking. I think the Lakers should definitely take care of business tonight. Take this game fairly seriously, but also understand that you can win a million different ways, so you don't have to lean on AD and Bron to get your victory. And I think if we don't, we'll be fine. Just like I always reference the Golden State Warriors last year. Leaning on Wiggins, leaning on Porter, leaning on those other guys ultimately got them the championship, and nobody really remembers that. Steph Curry still gets the credit. He played great. We remember that. But this really comes down to Wiggins and those guys doing all the dirty work defensively. You know, GP2 and those guys. We're going to need that on our team. We're going to need our Vanderbilt, D'Angelo Russell, Austin Reeves, and all those guys to play their very best so that we can get to our promised land, and then from there we can get the credit together. You know what I mean? Because a lot of those guys are free agents and they're going to get paid handsomely and be remembered as the guys that helped LeBron James get that ring with the Lakers that ultimately solidified a lot of different things. So that's what I think is possible, man. I think that's very possible, especially given the fact that we get to the line more so than everybody else. We need to keep that up and continue to drive at the rim. And so I'm encouraged that LeBron James is getting back in rhythm. I know that is a far cry from what I've been saying over the last several games because I've been seeing him struggle. But the reality is, I think that throughout the struggles, it's very clear that the production and scoring has still been there. So he's scoring the ball at a high clip, even though he's been struggling so much. It's not necessarily to the naked eye for a lot of people who don't really watch the game that much. He's been playing very well, and he's been playing great down the stretch of these games. I think the slow start is the problem. He has got to get off to better starts in the process of trying to get in rhythm, or we need to be able to not go to him so early while he's struggling. So that's really what it is. I'm going to be looking to see if he plays tonight. If he plays tonight, will he look to be the focal point of things, or will we kind of take a different approach and kind of get off to a different start by going to some different people? I don't know if making any changes to the starting lineup makes any sense. So I'm not asking us to do that at all. I want to make this clear. But I definitely want to see Rui Hachimura get more looks and more touches because his defense has improved. And that's what ultimately was keeping me from wanting to play him as much. Now that I know his defense can be relied upon a bit more within his limitations for which we would position him down there to be able to not have exploited, I think he can really help us scoring the ball a lot. I think this dude can run it up really easily, especially if we let him get in rhythm. Now, if he's cold, then we have to get away from him just like anybody else. But for all the stuff that we're asking Malik Beasley to do from behind the arc, we can kind of get some of that same production from him in more high percentage ways, as I've said many times. And it's all about securing your possession with a score. At the end of the day, I don't care if we get the 3-ball or the 2-ball or just get to the line and hit 2 free throws. At the end of the day, you just want to have close possessions with you scoring, and not throw possessions away. And that's what I don't think we respect enough. Offensive possessions particularly. We just don't make sure that they're quality for what it is that we absolutely want to see happen. And then at the end of the game, we're always sad about not getting AD the ball enough, not getting this guy the ball enough, not seeing it. And so it's like, can we start seizing these moments before the game, and then from there start understanding what it is that we want and executing that, rather than just kind of happening to fall into different production kind of thing. You know what I mean? Because that's what ends up happening. I look up and Beasley shot more shots than Austin. I look up and see Austin shot more shots than AD. It's like, no, guys, no. In the playoffs, we're going to have to set some type of pecking order to some degree, and it should always start with AD. You know what I mean? And so that's really what I think. That's it. I would like the emphasis placed on Beasley to stop, man. Like I said, I like seeing him shoot the ball, but the necessity to have him out there is null. It's absolutely null, man. So please, 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 lean into the understanding that it's just too much for the defense to attack when he's down there. There are too many height and speed holes on the floor just from his presence being on the basketball court. I cannot stress this enough. I cannot stress this enough. And so I'm sorry that this is coming off of him shooting well, but it's not about that unless he's shooting to the degree that blows teams completely out the water, which we've seen. So please, 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 let's move him back down the depth chart in ways that make absolute sense for what it is that we're going to be seeing for both the offense and the defensive side of the ball, man. Because it's playoff time. It is not time to be leaning on stuff that does not necessarily look like it may always work when we have stuff that definitely will. I think all them shots should be going to Austin Reeves and Rui Hachimura, and I really do think we would be better for it. I really do. So, yeah, please, play these players. Also, Troy Brown, I really like how he's been shooting lately. The inconsistency and all that stuff, I'm trying to learn how to be free about it. Just like I'm trying to learn how to be free about AD's inconsistencies. I tell you guys, I see them the same way. You just got to kind of let it flow. The problem is, when you leave him down there to struggle, it really does cost us a lot because of what he's not doing. Yes, the length is there. Yes, the shooting ability is there. But if he's not going to do anything, if he's literally jogging back and forth, then that's production that we need to come from somewhere else. That's what I'm saying. It's like that's when you call on the Max Christie. That's when you call on Devon Reed, if for no other reason than to see if they can give you the production he's not. And so that's all I'm saying. It's like I like the idea of making sure length is on the floor. And so I have other players that have length. That's essentially what I'm telling you. I have that in other players. So he's not the only one. And so that's what it is, man. What else? Mo Bamba, again, another player that I think should be getting more minutes. Now, I know he's working back from injury, so I shouldn't try to expect him to not, be cognizant of that. But for what we need, for what he does for AD, potentially, and for what all that we're asking Winion to do that just completely is too much. Again, stuff that you only do when you don't have no other thing else to do. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not going to ask Winion to play out of position and have big players be on him and vice versa if I have the players that will match up and make that make sense. Especially when Winion doesn't necessarily have any deficiencies. If you just put him in his position, he can be great for you. You know what I mean? Within his limitations, as we said about others. So, again, our role players, you know what I mean? We're asking them to do stuff that doesn't quite help them be their best sometimes, and then we skate by with a win, and that's cool. But I mean, the roster's gonna get wins, especially if you don't get in the way. So that's what it is. I don't question that. D'Angelo Russell had 6 threes in the last game. Like, that's pure talent, man. I can coach these guys, and he can go have a night like that. Seriously. So that's what we need to understand. We can lean into the efficiency of those two players, particularly. As I say those two, I mean Austin Reeves and D'Angelo Russell. Them boys barely miss, if you notice. How the heck am I leaning in on somebody who can't hit shots if I got those two guys who are basically rising up the ranks in the league with efficiency? You know what I'm saying? Like, both of them. Like, both of these dudes are two of the most efficient guards in the league. And we trying to lean on guys who are less efficient for us. Again, stuff that we do when you don't have nothing better. That's why I need Darvin Ham to understand. It's like, bro, you're doing stuff that you do when you have no other choice. You got a big old roster like this, man. You got so many different choices. The mistakes that a coach should make with a team like this is doing too much. That's the mistake that's acceptable, because it's like, okay, you're mix matching too many different players. It's just too much going on. They can't find any continuity. When you are leaning in on certain things with a roster like this, you're completely doing it wrong. Because that's what the GM put together. Is something that can be mismatched in many different ways. Too much. So it's like, how do we have a coach that has no imagination as it pertains to using this damn thing? You know what I mean? How that happen? When you bring him like a Swiss Army knife roster. This dude needs a basic roster. If you want him to have basic, ways of doing things, you got to give him something simple. You know what I'm saying? Not this ever-changing machine, like water type machine. Because that's what it is. I'm telling you, the way I envision this roster, if used correctly, it's going to devour teams with its strengths. It's going to absolutely devour teams. Teams are going to think they have leads, and then they're going to put in their bench and going to squash them. like the old Spurs used to do. So call him like a boa constrictor. Just squeeze you, you know? And that's what I think this roster is capable of, with the defensive players that you can put on the floor in certain situations, and then remove those players and put the shooters on the floor in certain situations, but the high efficiency players that can draw, fouls at the rim, and then the ability with AD and Bamba and all these guys with length, and Vando that completely devour teams with all types of length. I mean, it is ridiculous what this roster should be actually able to do. That's what I'm telling y'all. While we sitting here waiting on Malik Beasley to hit jump shots, I'm like, absolutely not. No, sir. No, not with this Laker roster. Hell no. When I got players that can play, I can put Vanderbilt on a guy like John Morant, and then put Anthony Davis on a guy like Jaren Jackson, and be happy with my circumstance. Like, there's no way. I don't know why that turned on, but there's just no way, man. You understand what I'm saying? So that's what it really comes down to. I need my coach to just use this roster in a way that gives it so many more options that can attack and destroy teams in the playoffs. And in this playing tournament situation. If we're going up against Brandon Ingram, I don't need LeBron James shooting jumpers, and I don't need Malik Beasley just shooting jumpers. I don't need us just leaning on Dennis Schroeder to shoot. None of that. I want us putting lineups on the floor that's going to lock Brandon Ingram's behind up. He don't need to be getting a shot off. He needs to be 6 for 30. That's how we're going to be able to use our roster properly. Leaning on the defensive stuff. We're going to score anyway because a lot of those defensive players can score. And then you can put an offensive player in the lineup like D'Lo, who's not going to be a deficient player when he has fantastic defensive players around him. Or a guy like LeBron James, who's only going to play better defense when everybody around him playing better defense. Like these type of things, like, yo, come on, let's get with it, baby, because we got a chance here. That's what I'm saying, everybody. So, all of this that I've said, I'm not no genius. I ain't no basketball mind. I just kind of know what our pieces are. I just have an understanding of what all these dudes can do. We ain't using them right. We ain't using them right. I'm telling you that. So we can get the ball to AD a little more. LeBron James, if he's willing to be a playmaker and somebody who's slashing off the ball, catching the rhythm and getting layups and slashing at the rim and dunking and stuff like that, off the ball, back screens and all types of stuff like that makes so much more sense to me with LeBron James. I know you don't want to do too much pushing off that foot, but that is really what he's at his best, man. When somebody like D'Lo is getting him a fantastic pass out of nowhere, out of absolute nowhere, that he can finish at the rim. It's not enough of that going on, man. It's not enough of that. We can, just like the Philadelphia 76ers have turned James Harden into a pass-first point guard that scores, we can turn LeBron James into a scoring power forward that just receives the ball, man. Receives it. Not looking to make plays for other people, because we have those players. We have D'Lo who can make fantastic passes in tight windows. We have that. Now we can use Bron in those situations too. But if all we're going to do is put him on the floor and then have him walk the ball up in the jumpers, man, believe me, you're not using that man right. You're not utilizing him correctly. Or having him start at a certain point and then driving at the rim as if he's not going to be called for charges and stuff like that. It's not going to work, man. They're waiting on that. We got to use Bron in different ways off the ball that allow him to be decoy for guys like Austin Reeves, decoy for a guy like D'Angelo Russell, decoy for a guy like Rui Hachimura, of whom he can play make for in these situations as well. So it's like, yo, please try to use this roster in ways during the playoffs that utilize all of these different options. And I am certain teams are going to run into us and they ain't going to know what to do with themselves. They're not. They're going to have to deal with Anthony Davis and a plethora of other stuff that's going to be coming at them in creative ways. But you cannot neglect the defensive side of the ball, man. Cannot. Because at the end of the day, the roster, if you just play enough of it, it's going to play defense anyway. But if you utilize its defensive strengths, you're going to squeeze teams. You're going to keep them under their average. Especially if you don't ask those defensive players to do too much offensively, as we talk about all the time. So that's that. And that don't stand for AD, as we know. I'm sorry, he'll want to be like, yeah, no, not you. Not you. I'm talking about Vanderbilt. Not you. You got to score. That's real. I ain't doing that with him. No, you're defensive and offensive, sir. You're one of the Pantheon greats in the history of the sport. That's what you are. So that means you got to do both. You ain't doing that. Because that's another thing. It's like, I think AD wants to relax, man. I've heard other people say that. I agree. I think he wants to chill. I think he would much rather other people step forward and do other things while he does the easy stuff on the court that's easy for him to do. But I'm telling you, man, we need you to do the difficult stuff too. We need you to snap into 50-point Anthony Davis in the playoffs, because at the end of the day, that's who people signed up for, man. That's what they signed. That's what they paid for, man. He did not pay for Anthony Davis to be 15-point, 20-point Anthony Davis, bro. No. You know why? Because those blocks you're giving me and those rebounds you're giving me, I can get from somebody else. I need the scoring that I can't get from them to come from you. That's what you're selling us, brother. And if you can't do that, then we're looking at a different piece than what we thought we were getting. And that doesn't make any sense, because we've also seen him do this. If he never did it, then it's like, all right, we can't do it. But he's done it. He's done it a lot. And so it's like, yo, when is it? Now's the time, Anthony. Now's the time. Give us some of that offensive scoring, and to stay on the floor and not pick up bad fouls. That is where he ends up getting hurt also. The stupid fouls every night. Anthony Davis pick up a stupid foul every night, and so we just need him to understand that, yo, that's just as important as the free throw stuff. They're not picking up bad fouls, understanding that they're going to look to you to pick up bad fouls, so give guys distance and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Because that's what we need Anthony Davis to be available on the floor, and then from there he can score. You know, the aggressiveness, tell teammates they need to give him the ball, whatever it takes, man. But we know we're going to win if they get you the ball. We know that. We ain't going to have too many nights where you go 5 for 30. It's not going to happen. But we will have nights where you only attempt 8 shots. That is going to happen. And it can. Not if we want to be our best. Not if we want to beat teams. I mean, I like Malik Beasley going 17 points if he's going to hit 11 of them. 17 shots, rather. If he's going to hit 11 threes, you don't have to do none of that. Cool. But if that's what we're relying on, you ain't know Bron to hit 10 threes. When was the last time Bron hit 10 threes? Why does he hit 10 threes, bro? I'll never understand why he doesn't cap it off at like 5 for your averages. And it's like, I know you got to conserve energy, and we said it. I got an answer for that too. It's called passing the rock. Answer for that? I got an answer for that. It's called passing the rock. Focus on rebounding. That's it. If you don't want to score on the play, that's cool. You don't have to. You know what I'm saying? That's what it really comes down to. So that's what I want people to understand. Don't do stuff you don't have to do. We got better options. Don't make life harder for yourself. Use the stuff that works. And we know Austin Reeves going to hit 7 out of 8 and give him the ball and let him shoot shot 9 and 10 and 11 and 12. I mean, go to the hot hand, baby. Let's win. You got to go to that other stuff. So that's what I want to see the Lakers do, man. I know I forgot to salute the Kobe minute, but I'm in my groove, man. Salute. I'm in that because I know what it takes for this team to have its chemistry improve. And that's what ultimately we need in the playoffs. And that's this guy's stringing together some really good possessions on both sides of the floor with fantastic rotations to match. Once those rotations make sense, oh my goodness, will you see happy players. It will all trickle down, man. So I was thinking a lot about something this morning. It's like, okay, do we fire Darvin Ham? I think that is what I naturally do. But I also look up and say, 3 years from now, Darvin Ham is probably going to be a good coach with a good young team getting in the playoffs, doing good things. I mean, it's not like I don't think he's going to lead a team. He's just got to go through the growing pains of a coach who believes in stuff that he probably should not lean on. You know, and that is something I don't want to go down with because I'm a Laker fan and I'm all about winning championships and stuff. So waiting on a rookie coach with a win-now roster is a bad deal for this franchise. Even if the coach is a great prospect that you want to keep around, he got to be able to get to that point. And if he's failing in the big championship year because it's his rookie season, then you obviously find yourself not wanting to keep that coach. Mess with his confidence. He start thinking he's a no-good coach as opposed to somebody just making some mistakes under circumstances he should have never been placed in, with pressures that should never go to a rookie coach in the first place. I know it's a trend. I know what Ime Udoka did. I know what Nick Nurse did, but that's not something you want to rely upon when you have a win-now timeline. It's not. Those guys did their job and did it well, but it's not something anybody should be expected to do anywhere. It's not a precedent you want to set in life. Yo, your first day, hey, everything's on you. Let's get it right. What? Even if it works a couple of times, that's not something like, the hell you doing? You know what I mean? Sometimes trends, are we thinking the trend should not be a trend just because it worked twice does not mean that that makes any sense. And so those are the type of things we got to think about. Do I want Darvin Ham? If I have a tanking team he can do this with, yeah, no problem. That makes sense. Let the rookie coach make rookie mistakes with a bad team. It's what the Rockets did, no disrespect at all, but that's what they did. They hired a win later coach, put together something that's going to take 6 years to do, and just let him grow with it. That's how that works. You definitely don't put him in a situation where he's supposed to be winning championships for the pinnacle. Bron James. You know what type of pressure that is for a rookie. Rookie don't even know what he's doing. And so that's what it really comes down to. Do I want Darvin Ham on the Lakers as a head coach? Not as long as we have our timeline like this. Now, he can go out there and prove to me that a rookie can do it again. Maybe he can continue the trend. Maybe we get lucky. Make me look like a fool, but that doesn't mean that this should still be the trend because it's not something anyone should want to do with this timeline. Nothing wrong with a rookie coach who don't know what the heck he's doing. He's got to learn what he's doing. We said at the beginning of the year. Now, do I believe in some of the stuff he believes in? That's a problem for me. But that's a preference thing for basketball. I'm always going to think what I have rolling around in my head. But as it pertains to whether or not the coach should be there based on the mistakes that are actually being made, when you put a rookie in a situation and tell him it's pressure and you got to win, ain't nobody fault but yours when he doesn't. Bottom line, ain't nobody fault but yours. So all that has to be assessed with balance in regards to what he's done versus what it is you think he could do with a different situation. If your situation's going to be different, maybe you keep the coach. If you're getting rid of Bron, get rid of AD, getting rid of everything, and you're bringing us back garbage, I don't need you to switch the coach out. I really don't. Everything else is swapping out. You just keep the rookie coach. And worst comes to worst, you got a tanking squad. You're tanking. He's worse. He gets burst, and you can assess him properly under least pressure circumstances. All right? And if he continues to make the same old mistakes with that bad roster, all right, we can get him out of here. It's like we did with Luke Walton. It didn't work. Get him out of here. And so it's like that makes more sense to me. I can't properly assess him with this. I can't. Even if he's doing stuff I literally don't believe in. It's like, it's the end of the day. It's like, well, would he have done all this if we gave him a young roster? Maybe. I don't know. But the bottom line is they gave him a little bit, told him to do everything, and this is what he believed in. So I don't believe in small ball, man. And then I have to question whether or not it's what he believes in or what they believe in. Because I'm looking at what's going on with Jason Kidd, and I'm listening to how he's talking, and I realize, he agrees with what he's supposed to agree with because those are his bosses and therefore. So he's going to execute what it is that they tell him to execute, and then from there, he's on board with their plan because he can't see what they can see. So therefore, if they have a certain idea about what they want to do with their organization, heck, okay. Maybe there's more to look at than what's on the floor and what his responsibilities are. So, of course, he's going to go with the organization because the organization is the organization and they want to move in lockstep with one another. If he doesn't want to be a part of the organization, he can remove himself and they'll still be on their path. So, with that being said, that could very well be what Darvin's dealing with, just like any other professional in the NBA. Hard to tell. All I can do is react to what I see, but what I see is small ball nonsense. Again, for the second year in a row with a different coach. So, what do I say to myself when I'm assessing Darvin Ham? Am I certain he even has control of what it is we're seeing, despite being blamed for what it is that we're seeing? I don't know. I say the same thing about my GM. I can't tell. I literally can't tell. Even with the trade that was just made right now. I think it was him that made the trade. It might have been somebody else, and it might be getting the credit for it. I cannot tell with this roster, with this Laker organization. So I think they have that there by design. And that's just how we have to look at it until things change, which is, if the change is necessary, if the results don't come. If we win a championship, then there's no need for a change. You know what I mean? That's what it would come down to. I can bump my gums all day long, but I'm going to be a happy champion at the end of the year if what they're doing leads me to that. Period. I'll just come here and say, they got it done. You know what I'm saying? But that's what it has to come down to. No different than me being happy as heck with everything they do, suggesting everything they follow through, and we fail. Is it my fault? I'm going to blame myself. Does it really matter? No, because they did what I told them to do. You know what I'm saying? So it's like people got to just do things that make sense and follow through. Like literally follow through. Don't do like Dallas. Follow through. And I understand they have special circumstances. I will admit that I understand that they were trying to keep the 10th pick, didn't want to give it to the Knicks. I want to make people understand that I understand that. So I made a whole video about that. Did not have that in mind, didn't know it. So the pick is more significant than my initial thought, but it don't change my initial thought just the same, because at the end of the day, if you were to do what you were supposed to do, that wouldn't have been on the line in this way. That's to which people wouldn't be trying to investigate you and look at you as if you're not trying to compete or doing something even worse, even more sinister, whatever they think. So, I'm of the mindset that if you take care of what you can control, then none of that other stuff will ever come into place. You just make sure your side of the fence is straight. And so that's what I'm asking my front office and everybody else to do. If we can win, then I'm not going to be asking for anybody to leave. But based on the things that I've seen and all the stuff that's led up to this, it's just making me see that we've made a lot of those type of mistakes that were fireable, that make you want to get rid of people. We've already made those mistakes. And so whether or not I believe that what I'm seeing and then making the right decisions, finally coming around and learning, is something I should believe in, or otherwise them just taking advice from people who are tired of them and want them to get it right. And if that advice stops coming, they start making mistakes again. I don't know. I don't even know how to look at that. I don't know the wisdom behind that, but I know there's two things to look at, and that's possible. So I don't want that to be possible. I want to know for a fact that we can win. You know what I mean? And so that's really what it comes down to. But I do like what I'm seeing, and that's what I wanted to bring to everybody. I like they picked up Shaq. I like they picked up Tristan Thompson, especially under these circumstances. Defensive players who rebound the ball, can help the team with the fullness of the roster, keep people healthy, and continuity process pieces. That's what it is. That's what it is. So I like what I'm seeing. But I also know we've been suggesting it. I know that I've been listening to other Laker fans suggesting it. And so these are things I want the Lakers to practice going forward, whether those suggestions keep coming or not, when people start getting satisfied with what they see or not. Because at the end of the day, this is something that has to be practiced. So that's what it is. Speaking of practice, I want to see the team have players on the floor who can practice. That is so important, man. And I've said it a million times. So that's what I got to say, man. Shout out to the Lakers. Welcome Tristan Thompson. Welcome Shaq Harrison. It's not gimmick that they picked up Shaq Harrison as a defensive player that can help us. I know what people are going to be thinking, like, we do that, but it's not without merit. Just like we did with Max Christie. Yeah, Max looks like Kobe, but he's also a player who should literally be on the floor. And we definitely want to keep in this organization, even if he didn't look like Kobe. So that's what I like about my franchise. They do what they do with some goodness attached to it as it pertains to the gimmick stuff that tends to just pop up. You know what I mean? You got to seize it if you see it. So that is what it is, man. Hopefully the Lakers get this victory today, 12:30 to be exact. And the games that are going to start before that in the Eastern Conference start right now. So if you care about the East, it's going on, but everything's locked up. I think like literally everything in the Eastern Conference is locked up. So everybody should be playing for nothing. Everybody should be sitting there starters, I think. So yeah, but the West, 12:30, yeah, that's what's up. That's what's really going down. So we'll keep our eye open on that. Go Blazers, right? Go Blazers. We definitely want to see Shaedon Sharpe and Trendon Watford go absolutely ham tonight on Steph Curry. Get a victory, young fellas. End your season right, shock the world, and help the Lakers. And of course, the Lakers have to help themselves by beating the fast-paced, high-octane, Dunn-led Utah Jazz, because that boy is playing crazy right now. Do not lose sight of how well Chris Dunn's playing right now. And Luka Shamovic, Luka. You got to pay attention to the new Luka in Utah. Utah's Luka is not to be played with. Understand? Luka Shamovic. We're going to get it right one day. But I promise you this. If we don't guard him, he's going to get us right quick. I promise you that. He's going to shoot us down. So it is what it is. We got to pay attention to these guys. Agbaji, all these new guys. They got some new Utah Jazz players that we're going to know very well today. So let's get used to that. And that's pretty much all I got to say. My name is BDL44. Thank you all for watching.